Red Light Special. You remember when Walmart used to have like the rollback commercials? They'd be
Rolling back,
like, this
rolling back,
week.
rolling back, rolling back, rolling back, rolling back, rolling back.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. I think I just
That's mad
embarrassed
funny.
myself on national television.
Nah, I can edit it out if you want, but I
I
just
don't
thought
care.
about that as I said it. Because
I
I
don't
totally remember all of those rollback commercials. They would
care.
have like that character float and chop a price off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then
I
the
remember
smiley
that.
face next to the rollback price.
Mhm.
Rolling back, rolling back, rolling back, rolling back, rolling back, rolling back, rolling back. Mm-hmm.
See, there you go.
Yep.
All right, let's get it started. This is Weeknights, and I'm here with my lovely singing co-host. Introduce yourself.
I am Dashing D, aka Dash, aka the King of R&B.
Oh, I thought you had another one coming. You took a breath. I was like, oh shit,
No,
new
I was
one,
about
new alias.
to... No, not yet. Because then I'll start to forget them if I have too many. So,
You know, that's what happens. Then you be walking down the block, somebody calls you by your alias, and you don't even know they talking to you. You just be like, oh,
who?
you were talking to me? Oh,
Me? Oh
wow.
my
Totally forgot
goodness.
that was one of my names.
Right.
That has happened to me before. I was walking with someone, and
Mm.
someone saw me like a block away and shouted my name. And I totally did not realize they were calling me. And the person I was walking with was like, hey, I think that guy is shouting to you. I
Mm.
turned around and it was one of my boys I hadn't seen in a while. He's like, nigga, you ain't hear me calling you? I was like, what did you say? And he said what name he said. And I was like, oh, that's why I don't turn around for that name. I never would have even realized. If it wasn't for the person I was walking with, I would have been oblivious. He's like, I was about to call you and curse you out on the phone. I
I mean, that's what
had,
you do when you
had
try
no
to.
idea.
Right. Yeah.
Because he thought I was acting funny stuff.
Yeah.
And I
He's gonna
understand.
call you on the phone with some fighting words.
Word. And be like, nigga, I'm right behind you.
I mean, I was just about to say, why didn't he just like all the way come up to you and be like, "Hello, I
Because
was talking to you."
he was almost a block behind me.
Oh, okay.
I guess he like turned the corner and saw me and was like, yeah. But
That's funny.
yeah. Anyway, let's get this show started. I
What
am
was that name
JD.
he called you though?
I don't know. Sorry. I can't remember. Good try, though.
All right, I
That was a
had
good
to.
try.
Yep. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. And I am JD, a.k.a. He Who Pods, a.k.a. He Who Really Needs to Holler at His Barber. Man.
AKA,
Looking.
what was the other name? All right, let's go.
I was like, what? Just that fast, it left me. I was like, what is she
Right.
talking about?
That's why I
That was
had to
good.
do it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You got me. That was good. Anyway, yeah, so we got some interesting stuff going on.
What's up?
This
What's
weekend
happening?
was,
Sorry.
no, it's fine. Yeah, get your song on.
I was
I'll
trying
just,
to cue, I was trying to cue
I'll
you
just
up.
sip while you do it. You know what I mean?
I was trying to cue you up. I was like, "Oh, you about to say something?" So I was hitting you with "What's up? What's happening?" You know.
Ti,
Yeah, a little something
that's
on a Monday weeknight.
that's my jam.
Mm-hmm. It's
That
a
was a
good one.
great record. What's up? What's happening? My daughter likes that song too, which is funny because she didn't know her mother loved that song. I told her that one day. I had it came on shuffle mode. I was like doing dishes or something. She's like, "Oh, Dad, I like this song." I was like, "Oh, did your mom play it for you?" It's like, "What? What? Mom? No." I was like, "All right, my bad, player. I
It
didn't
was in
know."
her blood already.
Right. I was like,
Between
"Oh,
the
is this
two.
your mom's jam?" She said, "Mom barely ever plays rap music, and this is definitely not one of the songs that she plays." All right, fix your face, relax. I was like, "Yeah, when you go home, play it for your mom. Watch her get excited."
There you go.
You know, sometimes we know stuff that they don't know we know, but a topic for another time.
Topic for another time. All right. Well,
Now,
give
a
us what you
topic
got.
we do need to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend was All-Star Weekend,
It was
and
when it's when the North and the West comes together, and we're not talking about Kanye and Kim's daughter.
actually, it's when the East and the West come together.
Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me?
It's okay. Yeah.
I've been listening to too much Miss Westy.
Apparently, apparently. So,
The
uh,
Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. I just want to be clear. I know a lot about basketball. That was a complete slip up on my part. And I've been saying a lot of dumb shit on the pod lately. Just not thinking before I speak. So let me
you
pull it
know,
on back.
when you
Please go
pod,
ahead.
when you pod, and we keep talking about this off pod. I think we need
But
to
we
take
don't.
a day and do it. But
Yeah.
when you pod, people don't realize how hard it is to just talk a lot
Right.
all the
Right.
time. And sometimes shit just flies out that later on you listen back and be like,
Yeah.
why did I say
Right.
that dumb shit?
Yeah. It's
What's
true.
wrong with me? Why did I say that? Or you'll say a word, you'll be like, when you're potting, you'll be searching for a word in your mental Rolodex. The
Yeah.
word, you can't even imagine what it is. And you listen
Yeah.
back and be like, the word was every. I couldn't remember every. Why? Why couldn't I remember a simple ass word like every? You'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, it means the same as like all the time. Uh,
But you
it means
can't.
the
You
same
can't.
as
It's like you can't materialize it, and the issue is the camera, right? It's kind of like when you watch people on reality television. I know we have very little grace for them, but I actually think about them sometimes because it is the same thing where the camera almost makes you feel like you're in a pressure cooker, and with them they can let things fly because it's gonna get edited anyway. But with
right.
us, we are the ones who have to edit it, and what the problem becomes time. It becomes how much do you edit, like, and because there's editing and then there's censorship, and
Yeah,
there's a fine line between the two. You don't want to be inauthentic, but
right.
you also don't want to look stupid.
Right.
So
And the other thing is in reality TV, they can do punch-ins. So like let's say
right,
the every example, right? If I can't remember the word every on a reality show, they can pan the camera to a girl in a bikini and then have my audio come in saying every damn day just do it. But on this here podcast where it's just the two of us staring into a camera, if
it's not
post
easy to do.
edit
It's
my mouth says possibly and I change and go every. You could be like,
not gonna fly. People are gonna
what
be
just
like, "What are
happened right
y'all doing
there?
here? Is that a
What
deep
did he
fake?"
do?
Right.
What just happened?
Right.
So yeah.
Absolutely true. You can do it with audio. If it was an audio only podcast,
Oh
there's a
yeah,
lot
much
of things
easier.
that we could doctor. But being on video and trying to be on authentic on video is a completely different world.
Yeah.
So it's fine. I know I say sometimes I say things and I'm like way more
Yeah.
intelligent than that.
I'd be
They won't
listening
know, but
back
I
and be
know.
mad. I'd be cursing myself out on the listen back. I'd be
Yeah.
in the crib flipping, looking in the mirror like Jordan the Stallion, like, come here. You didn't know to say the word every? You didn't know the word every? Really? You
Right.
couldn't think of the word every.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be tough sometimes because you're really just trying to get through it, do it right the first
Yeah.
time, and have as few edits as possible.
And
But
not look like an asshole who has no brain.
well, here,
I
because
drink to let's drink to that.
cheers, cheers to that. Okay, because it's like I don't know. Sometimes I sit back and I'm like, don't did I really say that? And I'll go to call you and be like, I think we need to edit this. And then I'm like, you know what? It's an honest representation of a mistake I made. So
Right.
there we go.
Right.
Whatever.
Because I did that dumb shit.
I did that dumb shit. But I
Right.
hope that it comes across that we're two intelligent people. And if it does not, well, maybe this is not the podcast for you. It's
And
fine.
they listen. We never
Right.
said this was the intellectual podcast. We just
Exactly.
said we was here 5 nights a week giving you the good stuff. That's all we said. We didn't make
Right.
no promises about learning or education or
Or
informative
educating.
anything. Or what?
Or educating,
Right.
because
Right.
there's
Exactly.
also that. Because sometimes people will show up and then they'll be like, but what? But why did y'all say it that way? Or why did y'all? Because we didn't say we weren't going to do
Right.
that.
Right. Plus, we got about 45 minutes
Mm-hmm.
to record this, so then editing could begin and we could get it out in a timely manner. We don't
Exactly.
have time for all that shit.
No, we
This is
just don't.
not like some huge superfly production. There's two broke friends trying to get a podcast out. That's it.
That's it. That's really what's happening here. So
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta take you get what you get, and you don't get upset. And if you
Right.
do get upset, well,
Put it in the comments.
right, put it in the please put it in the comments. Let us know how you. I mean, I feel like our
They already
commenters
do.
let us know.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. Yep.
So it's all good. But
Right.
what you got for me? I just
Well,
derailed the whole conversation.
no, it's fine. Listen, I'm always okay with having a conversation about podcasting. I think,
Mm,
like I said, we've been talking about it a lot off mic. I think
yeah,
we should bring it on mic. I think we really should have episodes where we discuss, or even maybe a full episode where we discuss the ins and outs of podcasting, our experience with it, and different things. I think it would be interesting to the listeners and informative to some of them as well, because I speak to people about this podcasting stuff, and when I speak to them, they be blown away at some of the stuff that happens.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
especially the bigger projects. Like, I mean, I know all our listeners don't know about all my other podcasts, but some of my podcasts, it takes me weeks of editing, like, to put them
yeah.
out. And when I tell that to people, they're like, "Wait, see, I didn't just record it and put it out." I'm like, "No, no, there's six of us on a podcast. No, I cannot just put out the 6-person podcast with zero edits. No, I wish I
Well,
could, but I can't."
and that is the thing that I think that people don't get, and then we could get off this topic. But that is the thing that I think people don't get, because I had a conversation with someone a while back where they were like, they wanted to get into content creation and not necessarily podcasting, but they wanted to get into content creation, maybe do YouTube and stuff like that. And they were like, but it's really intensive and it's really difficult because it's not like sitting in front of a camera and talking. And I was like, wait, excuse me. You think that sitting in front of a camera and talking is like not that intensive? And what do you think happens after the camera turns off? What do you think happens with the video? You think I just hit upload and that's it? Because
Right,
we both, this is not our only podcast between
right,
the two of us.
right,
And I was like, huh? What are you talking about? Because
right,
actually, there's a lot of effort and a lot of work that goes into this. And
right,
y'all don't see it, and that's fine. The behind the scenes stuff is what we choose to do, right? We
right. Yep,
chose to create this, and we chose to create our other projects, and so we're executing on what we chose to do. But make no mistake about it, it's not a quick and easy thing. Not even weeknights, like you
yeah,
said. Weeknights is as condensed and as concise as we try to make it when we are on camera. The camera goes off and me and you are like talking back and forth about this thing and that thing and this
right.
went wrong and that. It's never that simple. But
No,
I just think
no, of
I
course
just
not.
think it's funny that I was like, oh, okay, so like you think that because people talk on a camera they don't edit
Right.
content? Like what does that mean?
Yeah.
But
And it's interesting too, because in response to that, what happens often is people don't see the things they don't see. And because
right.
of that, they don't think about it, right? You
Mhm.
just press play. Whether
Yeah.
you're listening or you're watching, we appreciate both of y'all. But
Me too.
you don't get to know what's going on behind the scenes, right? They don't know, did you have a good day before recording? Did I have a good day before recording? They don't know how much we had to figure out what the topics are going to be, how much we had to research what the topics are going to be, how much
Right.
editing we had to do, how much editing we did not have to do, how much re-recording, how many tech issues, like the list goes on. But it's kind of this like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing where people
Yeah.
just consume the product and don't think about anything else, right? Like they
Right.
just go to Dunkin' Donuts and get a coffee and sip it. They're not thinking about where the beans came from,
Who
who
brewed
had
them?
to make the coffee, all of these
Yeah.
behind the scene things, right? Like they don't care that they couldn't get a order. Like They don't care that, hey, we got different straws today because we had to change vendors. It just like, well, what's up with your straws, man? Why you got paper straws today? What the fuck is
Right.
that?
Right.
And
But
so,
you kind of got to think about it like this, right? There are whole podcast companies.
yeah,
Those people got to be doing something.
right.
They can't just they're not showing up and taking a video and uploading it. Like
Yeah,
they've got to be doing something.
right,
You
of
know,
course.
myself included, who works for a podcast company, but it's the same thing, right? It's like anything else. It's like television. It doesn't just happen. And then, like we were saying with reality television, yes, people are able to act as themselves and do whatever they do, but you do realize that once they're done doing that, there's a
There's
whole
an
host of
entire
other people who
staff.
got, right? Like, it's the same stuff.
Yeah,
But you know, sometimes people don't see that, and I understand. Like you said, they're getting the product that came from all of the work. They're not
yeah,
seeing the work. So totally understandable. But I like this topic way better than that one topic we were going to do. I know you know which one, so we
yeah,
can skip that one and go on to
yeah.
the other
That's
two.
fine. That's fine. It's always
Yeah,
tomorrow.
but yeah.
But
So
oh,
let's go. No, I was going to say let's go. Now,
oh, okay.
please introduce the topic.
Now let's get to the actual topics that we talked about in research.
Right.
Um, so this weekend was All-Star Weekend, which also means there was a celebrity basketball game. Everybody knows about it. It's popular. It's famous. And
Yeah.
fun fact, Stephen A. Smith got hurt at it. Totally random, but just a little
Did
tidbit I
he?
want to throw in there. Yeah,
Oh,
because
I didn't
Stephen
know
A.
that.
Smith is old and probably shouldn't be playing celebrity basketball.
Yeah.
My mad respect to Stephen A. Smith, but that's
I mean,
probably part of why. Anyway,
probably.
um, so it has come out that Chris Brown and the NBA had some issues with this
Mhm.
basketball game. Apparently, um, the NBA reached out to Chris Brown, asked him to be part of the celebrity basketball game, and
Because he's
then they
so good at
reneged.
it.
Huh?
Sorry. Because he's so good at it. And that's
Oh,
not sarcasm. He's
no,
done it
right.
before.
No, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, some of the celebrities got skills. I remember the celebrity football game. Nelly was killing it like 10 years in a
Oh,
row.
I remember that. Yes. I remember that Nelly used to do his thing.
Yeah, he was killing it for years. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's and I think that's always been a cool little thing that they do.
Hmm.
And then it creates like bragging rights between the celebs and friendships and bonds and all these other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But Chris Brown was asked to come and play ball, come and do the celebrity game, and then the NBA reneged. For those who don't know what that means, it means they said, "Sir, please don't show up. We had to change your heart."
Those
Um,
niggers.
oof.
Sorry.
I have like 5 thoughts. I'm gonna keep them all to myself. Uh, So
You
the
gotta
NBA
reclaim it.
reneged, and in their recanting, in their change of heart, they said to Chris Brown that
Allegedly.
no, this is what they said to Chris Brown.
Oh, I thought, okay. Okay.
They said that some of their sponsors had an
Okay.
issue with Chris Brown being part of the game, including Ruffles,
The potato chips.
potato chips. Is Ruffles or Pringles? I feel like it was Ruffles.
It's Ruffles.
Okay, I was about to pull it up. All right, if you say it's Ruffles, then it's Ruffles. That's it. I
Which
ain't
I
looking
believe
it up.
which I believe if we go up the chain is Pepsi.
Hey, now we talking.
I believe so. I believe Ruffles is under Lay's, and I believe Lay's is under Pepsi. Don't quote me,
No,
but
fuck
I
that. We're gonna
believe
hit
so.
the Googles. Because now you talking. Now you are talking. Who
Which is even a
owns
bigger conversation
Ruffles
than the Ruffles conversation.
chips? Yeah. You are absolutely correct. Owner PepsiCo, produced by Frito Lay.
Yeah.
That girl's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
That girl is good.
Told y'all I was smart.
You're a fool. Told y'all I was smart. Stupid.
I be knowing.
Yeah.
I kid. But yeah,
And
so I think that's a
and
bigger.
Ruffles is the official chip of the NBA, by the way, for those who
I
don't know.
I did not know that. And them chips
Me either.
hard, but
It says it on the Ruffles website.
the chips are hard. But besides the point. Like, you feel like you're gonna break a tooth on some Ruffles. And don't get me wrong, the cheddar and sour cream is good. The flavor is good, but the chips are hard.
Got it. So Chris Brown took to the internet to let us know what the NBA has done and express his frustration with companies doing things like this to him and holding his past crimes against him. We know this stems from the thing that happened eons ago between him and Rihanna, something like 20 years ago now, right?
Yes. But
I'm not saying it. I'm not defending him or anything. I'm only
no.
saying it was about 20 years ago, if I'm correct.
I don't think that something that people have been saying since this information was released is that people are isolating the Rihanna incident, but that is not the only incident that Chris Brown has
Been in
been in.
or been a part of.
Someone even pointed out that the restraining order that Carucci had against him just ended last year.
Got it. Okay.
So he has a history of violent and behavior that is alleged violence against women, and behavior that is untoward as it relates to women. So I, I think I think we're minimizing it if we just call out Rihanna's name. So I
Okay.
just want to make sure we're responsible about the fact that that's not the only thing that has happened. That's probably the worst thing that we know about, but it's not the only thing that has happened over the years since that.
No, you're right. You're right. I called that out immediately because that's the one that is the biggest
Mm-hmm.
as far as media coverage, as far as trials and you
Yes.
know, um convictions, you know what I'm saying? Like we know this is something that is etched into his legal record.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there have been other problematic behavior incidents since then. Yes, that was great that you called that out. Um, but he took to the internet to say, "Hey, this keeps happening with companies. I am tired of this happening. They keep fucking with me, and I'm tired of it." And
Mm-hmm.
since then, this is where it gets really interesting to me. Rufus responded and said, sorry, player, we ain't have shit to do with that. We found out at the same time as y'all."
Right.
So I think all of this is really interesting and worth discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just spoke a lot. What are your thoughts?
So I think that this is very layered, and I think there's a lot of information we will never find out.
Layered,
I used
ruffles, potato chips.
yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. I'm here all night.
The king of
Now,
R&B. Give it up for the king of R&B, y'all.
thank you very much. So, okay, Pepsi, aka Frito Lay, aka Ruffles, is I should have done that backwards, but
It's all the same.
it's all the same. These companies, these huge conglomerates, are when they're involved with media, they are attached to media agencies.
Yep.
They very seldom represent themselves.
Right.
So there's a middleman who deals with whoever the company is they're working with, whether
Right.
it's an advertisement on a podcast or on a television show or it's an activation at the NBA All-Star game. There's usually a middleman that makes sure that Pepsi's good and the people that they're working with are good and
Right.
that they're on the same page and that contracts are signed. And if Ruffles decides that there is something they don't want to be associated with, they are at liberty to say, hey, we can't have our signage or we can't have our ads running anywhere near this day. So with television, it'll be like, I forget what they call it, but they'll give you a list and they'll say, we cannot run in any of these shows. One of these
Okay.
shows is if one of your shows is on this list, can't run there. You got to figure out where to put it that it's not in any association with this. Or for podcasting, maybe they'll say, we don't want to be in anything political. Stuff like that, right?
Right.
Some people will say it'll be in the contract. We can't be associated with anything controversial, which is relative.
Right.
So my guess, and I work in advertising. I was just this is where I'm getting my information from. But I've never worked on an ad agency side. I've always worked on the other side. So I've worked
Okay.
on the side of the NBA. I haven't worked for the NBA, but I'm saying usually I'm on that side of things. I'm not on the agency side. So there's probably a lot of things that go on there that I don't know about. I could totally see you already knowing the
Sorry.
brand that you're working with on that side of things and knowing if it's like family friendly or like they don't want to be around cursing or they don't want to be around anything vulgar or anyone violent or
Right.
whatever. That is essentially what the ad agency is for, to make sure that those things don't happen.
Right.
There is a world where they say this is controversial or this person is controversial.
Right.
And maybe Ruffles didn't explicitly say it, but the ad agency was able to say, oh, this is your lineup. We don't think that's going to work for us. Maybe it wasn't Ruffles at all. But I do want to give that context because I think that's important, and I think that's the part we'll never really hear about is what was discussed, what was okay and what wasn't okay. Now, I'm just thinking, and my brain is working, and as you were talking, I started to think, hasn't Pepsi been associated with BET and the BET Awards? And I'm not saying that from experience there. I'm just saying that because I feel like they have.
Okay.
I would have to research that. The only reason I'm saying that is because
A burned bridge is a burned bridge.
or not even that, but if Chris Brown has already been associated with and BET has never really, the BET Awards specifically has not really distanced itself from him. So I would be curious to do some research is what I'm trying to say, to see how recent it was that his name was involved in, I don't know when he's last performed or anything like that or won an award. So I'm not sure, but something I would have to research. But I do think it would be interesting to see what the brand has been associated with prior. Also, maybe it wasn't just them, or maybe it wasn't them at all. It could have been another brand. People don't realize, because somebody said to me a couple of things. Someone said, well, couldn't the NBA have just told them, and like, shouldn't the brand have a right to say who they can be associated with it or not? Yes, but then the NBA needed to vet the brands that they needed to vet the guests at the All-Star game. Sorry, I'm getting a little tripped up on my words. The NBA needed to vet who was coming to the game against who was participating as a sponsor. That should always happen.
Yeah.
A big organization like the NBA and a big company like Pepsi, Frito-Lay, Ruffles, that should have been vetted. I don't know how that gets overlooked, which is why I'm kind of like, Ruffles maybe didn't know. Maybe they're telling the truth that they didn't know, and there was something that happened in the middle that there was a disconnect about. Or it could have been another brand that just said, oh, wait, y'all didn't tell us that person was on the lineup, or we didn't realize that person was on the lineup. Oh,
Right.
or we didn't know, because a lot of the people that work at ad agencies, like, let's call it what it is, are white. and may not be hip to the what
Yeah.
maybe somebody else had to see it and go, wait, Chris Brown is going to be there. Do y'all know who Chris Brown is?
Right.
It could have been a situation like that where they came back last minute. That happens too, where a brand will come back last minute and say, oh, actually, we didn't realize this. Hey, y'all got to change this. A lot of things could have happened. As far as Chris Brown himself and what the situation means, I think it's really unfortunate that I've said it before, that I think that it's unfortunate that his career slowed down as much as it did. Um, I don't know, as someone who has not experienced what Karuchi or Rihanna has experienced,
Hmm.
I don't know what the right thing to do here is. Um, I don't know that he should be stopped from these opportunities. I mean, this is his livelihood. This is his music, and all of that is how he makes his money. That's his career.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the right thing to do is when these situations happen. I
Right.
understand his frustration, is what I'll say. I would be frustrated too. If I felt like I did something wrong or did some things wrong, and I tried to stay out of the public eye and kind of do my own thing, and
Hmm.
you know, at what point, I would want to know too, like at what point did I pay my penance? Or is there penance? Because there's also that, and that's why I'm saying I don't know what those women would think. Well, I think we know that Rihanna has moved on, and she has
And they
publicly,
pieced it up.
yeah, she has publicly said like that's done and that's over with, and not checking for that. Clearly she's has way past moved on. She has her family and everything now, but I don't know. Like
Hmm.
I don't know what the right thing to do here is. I want to be sympathetic to people who have experienced those things,
Hmm.
um, but I can also understand the frustration of a man who is like, all right, like what I got to do, and then don't throw it in my face either, because that's what it could feel like when somebody invites you someplace
Right.
and then they're like, actually, forgot that shit you did. Don't come.
Right.
That's also poor business.
Right.
Just,
It just which is what he was saying in his post, because he said they also are still asking me to come to be at the front row of their basketball games.
oh, hell no.
Yeah, y'all can't have it both ways. So, I think this is a layered conversation as well. I think it's unfortunate that Chris Brown has to deal with this still. Nobody is perfect, but it does raise the question you brought up, which is, well, what happens, right? Because sure, people make mistakes, but I thought the whole thing was you go and pay your debt to society, right? So this goes for any crime, really. I mean, it's tricky, sure, because we know he has had instances where, with Rihanna specifically, yes, he put his hands on Rihanna in some capacity. With the other women, it's a little murky. We don't know really what happened and what didn't happen. We know there are restraining orders in place and things of that nature. Cool. But at what point do we say, hey, this guy, you said, for example, the restraining order just ended. Clearly, there's no new one. So there hasn't been a new issue. So
Right.
at what point is the debt repaid and this person is allowed to just do everything again? One, does that ever happen? Two, does that depend on the crime? Three, is it not about society? Is it about the companies? Those are the questions that have come to mind for me. The
Mm-hmm.
next thing is, I think it's unfortunate that the NBA mentioned Ruffles, because now you may have severed another relationship.
Yep.
And I think the NBA and their staff are smart enough to know that that was not a good thing to do. Perhaps, like you said, it was another company that the NBA was quote unquote protecting. But you've also now caused an issue, possibly, between yourself, NBA, and your chip company sponsor contract situation with Ruffles. I don't know. We'll see what happens, as we always say here. But it's possible that now Ruffles will say, hey, wait a minute, you threw us under the bus. You're going to have to find a new chip company to represent you.
And I want to be real clear about something. It never just runs one way, right? So when you have a company like their parent company, a
Mhm.
lot of times the brands will align. So like, and I don't know this, again, speculating here. I don't know any of this to be true, and I did no research on this. But I can bet in certain places, if Ruffles is the official chip, Pepsi beverages are probably somewhere close by,
Yeah.
right? So you fucking with a lot of business as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because one brand is usually not, you know, is usually is
Yeah. And
usually is
go ahead.
usually not just associated. Like if Ruffles was a company on its own and it wasn't associated with anything else,
Right.
then you could probably say, okay, fine. But when it's a part of such a big parent company, it also makes me wonder, like, what is the relationship going to be now? Especially because I'm sure the contract will probably stay in place, but what does that look like moving forward? Again, something we probably will never hear of and never
Right.
learn, but really interesting stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Just
I agree.
I'm a nerd, but
Now I think it's
so
interesting too. And forgot what I was going to say. But what I
sorry.
hope is that Chris Brown does not have to keep dealing with this, that he does distance himself from the NBA, and that Ruffles finds something that they could do with him because they're saying they're not the ones who did it. So maybe he could do a little chip commercial or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it sucks that he lost this opportunity, this look, and this money. So,
I think yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I think the fear is that, especially today, people are so sensitive to the things they believe in a
mhm,
way that people were not a long time ago. And I think that brands are more cognizant of that now. I don't think it's that they never were. I just think if you live in this world today, you have to be more sensitive to the way people are going to react. You have to be more understanding, and you have to have the foresight to know that there could be backlash
sure.
when you enter a partnership.
Yeah,
So I think that's the problem that Chris
happening.
Brown is having here, right? That um I think that maybe if times had never really changed, and they should have, we should grow and we should evolve. But I think if times were still the way they were, maybe even 10 years ago, I think people would probably be a little bit more lenient and a little bit more forgiving. And hey, I do want to point out that Chris Brown is not destitute either.
Mm.
And it's not that Chris Brown doesn't get invited anywhere. He hasn't been completely um
Written off, canceled.
ostracized. Yeah, he hasn't been completely written off from every place. He's been invited to places. He's been nominated for awards. He may not win them.
Right.
But he's been nominated for awards. I just think, and that's not a consolation at all. It's just there are levels. We've talked about that before, where there are levels to what people will accept. There are levels to who people will accept.
Yeah.
For some people, it's a lot easier to, re-enter society. For Black men, not as easy
Right.
across
Yeah.
the board. We still
Yeah,
have
I
yet.
agree.
Yeah, I know I'm talking a lot, but I was just gonna say we have to wait and see what's gonna happen with Jonathan Majors in terms of his re-entry into the acting world.
Society.
We don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
And there was a white woman involved in that. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm saying that because when we talk about who is protected in the world we live in,
Right.
it's never a good look for a black man to be on the other end of that. So we'll see. Like we don't know, but I don't know. I would be upset if I was him. I totally understand. But at the same time, I don't know what you do with proven domestic violence. I don't know how we're supposed to find the balance there. And I'm not saying that because I don't think there is balance or there should be. I just really don't know. And I
Right.
wish I had answers, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the other thing too is, you know, Chris Brown, sure, you could view him as problematic and talented. Whatever your view of him is, that's gonna vary based on many factors. But what I think is something we need to start looking at, and I said this on Man Cave Monday a while back too,
Mm.
is that the NBA is not doing things above board. The NBA is picking and choosing very clearly who they reprimand, how they reprimand them, who they support, who they shun, and that's with their own players.
Yep.
Now we're seeing this outside of that. Now we're seeing this with Chris Brown. So who's next? I think
Well,
as consumers, I think
mm,
as fans of basketball and as fans of the entertainment industry as a whole, we have to start thinking about how we want to support the NBA, how much we want to support the NBA, and really looking with a close eye at what the NBA is doing. Because there's players like LeBron James, who's the face of the NBA, or John Morant, or who's said to be the new face, the next face of the NBA. Well, they could do all type of stuff, and their penalties are slim to none compared to other players like Kyrie, for example, who
right.
Kyrie has been put through the ringer. Draymond Green, he's been going through a lot lately. And I know this is not a basketball podcast, but I'm just saying that
I get what
I
you're
think
saying.
it's very clear today
Mhm.
that in 2024, the NBA is not playing fair. And I don't mean the basketball games, I mean the business of the NBA and how they are handling black men, because that's really what this is about, right? I mean, we don't see the, I want to make this too racy. My point is, they are picking and choosing how they do things and with
Mhm.
who, which, yes, as a company, that is their right to do. But it was also companies' right to say, hey, we don't serve black people back in the day. So
Well,
let's let's
that's
let's
true.
really just be conscious
Uh-huh.
of what the NBA is doing to our people. That's the last thing I want to say.
I'll say one more thing. I think in terms of, I think I agree with everything you said. I think in terms of dealing with advertisers, though, I think it will always be dictated by how much money the advertisers are willing to spend.
But we don't
And
even know if this was an advertiser, because the way Ruffles is saying it wasn't us. So it's possible that the
right,
NBA did it and used the Jedi mind trick and said, "Oh, no, we would
to-
never do that, Chris Brown. It was
totally
it was Dash."
totally possible. But let's say, for argument's sake, since this is what the conversation was, let's say it was a sponsor. It doesn't have to be Ruffles. It could have been anybody.
Sure.
A lot of times those types of things are sponsored. I would have to go back and look at who the listed sponsors were, but usually something like a celebrity basketball game is probably sponsored by one of those big brands. But and again, they would spend a certain amount of money to sponsor it. So I think the NBA wouldn't, I'll say this, the NBA wouldn't be the first major company to change their lineup or change something very significant about the thing that they were doing to appease a sponsor.
I agree.
I think it happens very often. I think that money talks, especially if it's a long term sponsor and you want to keep them happy because the idea is that they'll continue spending more money year over year. Um, so that's always going to be, as a business, as a private business, that's always going to be what they're thinking about. They're always going to be like, well, we could get somebody else.
Sure.
If y'all are spending $1 million, $2 million, or whatever it is, maybe even more,
Probably more.
we could get somebody else. We could. There's plenty of people who want to play basketball. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could. I think there's also that, and I think sometimes, and like I said earlier in the conversation, that as a brand, you should be able to decide what your brand is associated with
Sure.
and what it's not. Um, but I think where things got murky, even if a sponsor had made that decision, where things got murky is that the NBA should have made sure that everything was vetted properly before they sent out invites.
Yeah, I agree.
You shouldn't be in a position where you have to renege someone's invitation because of an advertiser. That kind of should have been in place already. Because it's also embarrassing. It's like, who made that mistake?
Right.
How did that not get taken care of before Chris Brown was able to hit his Twitter fingers and get on the internet? And I
Yep.
don't blame him for doing that. I'm not saying it like that because I think that he shouldn't. I just but anyway, I know this went really long. I've been talking a lot
No,
today.
it's all good. I think it was good to have this in-depth
uh,
conversation.
yeah, so we'll see what happens. I think it goes both ways. I think you got to be able to, you got to do good business on the NBA side. And I think as an advertiser, you got to be able to protect your brand. And I think Chris Brown is allowed to protect his reputation, what's left of it. And I think it's okay for him to get upset.
Yeah, rightfully
And
so.
yeah, I think it is okay for him to get upset. And I think it's okay for people who don't think he deserves to be invited places. I think it's okay for those people as well to say, "Hey, no, what you did is heinous. What you did is not enough
Yeah, but then
for
don't
us
invite me to
to."
sit front row at the game. You
Right,
can't
and
have both.
that's why I'm saying the NBA did bad business.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bottom line there. They fucked up.
Yes, they did.
When we're talking about who's at fault here, if there is someone to blame, it's the NBA.
Yes.
That should have been handled. That should have been handled differently.
Agreed.
But yeah, I don't know. These things happen. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's unavoidable, and I can sympathize with that. But we don't know. We don't know that, and we won't know that. So the NBA is at fault here. Publicly, it's the NBA's bad.
Yep.
But yeah, that's all I got.
And that's all we got, because we are out of time, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, watching. Let us know what you think about this Chris Brown NBA situation. Feel free to throw it in the comments. And we'll be back tomorrow night, same time.
Bye.
Adios.